Hello everyone. Welcome to the tutorial of Hello World in HP Idol On Demand in Ruby. In this tutorial, I will be discussing about the HP Idol On Demand API and my main focus will be on three APIs. First, Find Similar API. The Find Similar API returns documents in the Idol On Demand databases that are similar to text or a document that you provide. Second, OCR Document API. The OCR Document API extracts text from an image that you provide. And finally, we will see Sentiment Analysis API. The Sentiment Analysis API analyzes text to return the sentiment as positive, negative or neutral. I have shown the implementation of these three API in Ruby. At the end of this blog, you will be able to understand and implement these three goals. Number 1, execute a Find Similar Idol On Demand API call from Wikipedia on the phrase Hello World and display the text from the Wikipedia article. Second, execute an OCR Document API call for an image file, and display the extracted text from the image. And lastly, to execute a Sentiment Analysis API call with the text from the Hello World response, which we have computed above, and will display the sentiment score, along with the sentiment rating, positive, negative, or neutral. So, let's get started. Before we move further and discuss more on programming side of Idol API, I believe it's a good idea to take a small tour of HP Idol On Demand. For those who have already signed up for an Idol account, may skip this and can directly jump to programming in Idol API. Whenever you first visit the Idol web page, you are required to sign up. Sign up button is located at top right. It will ask you to fill few details. Okay, once sign up is done, next, you will log in by clicking on Login button. Since I already signed up, I will directly jump to login. There are various login options for you, like Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Twitter etc. I have my Google account linked with Idol, so I will click on Google and will proceed to next. Once you log into your account, you should click on Get an API Key. You need this API key for your account. It's a token which is required while calling any API. You can manage your account by clicking on Account tab at top right. You can see various options you can manage your API key, check your usage for any particular API key, and many more. Lastly, now, we will have a quick look at API page, before moving on to programming for Idol API. Okay, so, from this API page, we can see all the APIs available in Idol. There are a lot of useful APIs. Let's examine one of these API. Let's go to OCR Document API. This is an overview page of OCR API, which is giving us all the necessary information about this API. Now, let's move to Request tab. This page is giving us the information, which we need to send during our post REST call, while calling this API. Remember, this is the URL which we need to pass to call this API. You can choose either of the asynchronous or synchronous, depending on your application. Now, let's move to Response tab. As you can see, the response, which we get from this API, will be our nice formatted friend JSON. You can see the exact structure by scrolling down. So, this winds up our small tour of Idol On Demand API. Now, we will look into the programming aspect of Idol API. So, let's go ahead. Let's see some of the few necessary installation details. I have implemented this code in Ubuntu. To install Ruby in Ubuntu, type in terminal, sudo apt-get install Ruby. Apart from Ruby, for our main script to run, we need two packages. First is REST_client. You can install it in Ubuntu, through terminal, by typing sudo apt-get install Ruby REST client. Second is JSON. You can install it through gem install. Type in terminal, gem install JSON. Now, we are ready to see our API methods and driver script in Ruby. So, let's move ahead. First, let's see display Ruby script, which will call all the API methods. This script will call our main class, Idol On Demand. Here, we have created an instance of class. It is a menu-driven program and will ask user for different options. If user enters 1, we are calling Find Similar method for Hello World text. If user enters 2, we are calling OCR Document method through URL. If user enters 3, we are calling OCR Document method through reference. If user enters 4, we are again calling OCR document method but with file option. If user enters 5, we are calling sentiment analysis method, and otherwise we are printing wrong choice. Now, let's have a close look at all our API methods. Our Idol OnDemand class. Okay, now let's see our class constructor. This is the constructor for Idol OnDemand class. Inside this constructor, we are initializing API key, partial URL and version number of API. Now, let's see our first API method. This is find similar API method. This line is building URL from the partial URL by concatenating find similar and version number string, with instance variable of URL. Next line, is adding all the key value pairs. First one is, API key, with its value as API key of your Idol account. The second parameter is text with its value as hello world. It is this text for which find similar will be done. Third parameter is indexes with its value as wiki_eng. This tells us that all the information will be fetched from English Wikipedia of HP Idol database. In next line, we are calling REST client post method from REST client Ruby package. This post method takes two arguments here. First parameter is URL of the API and second parameter is the list of key value pairs. The returned value will be in JSON. So, I hope you understood this method. Now, let's run this program and see its output for find similar method. For OCR document, I have provided 3 different methods to compute OCR document result, but for simplicity, I have explained here only one code. The other 2 methods are self-explanatory with added comments. This code computes OCR document of a document file which is hello world image file. First line, is building URL, by concatenating instance URL with OCR document and version value. Next line is building post_args, which contains all the additional parameters, which we need to pass along with URL of API. First key parameter is the API key and its value as API key of Idol account. Next parameter is file. Here we are opening file in RB mode, which is reading binary mode. Last parameter is mode, with its value as document photo. Since our image is a document photo, we are setting mode as document_photo. Next I will show code snippet for the other 2 OCR document method and then we'll run the output. Now, let's see our last method. This is method for sentiment analysis API of Idol OnDemand. We have done the sentiment analysis on the first document returned from the find similar API. Here, we have stored the common URL in a temporary variable to use it at later point in time. In this line, we are calling find similar method, which we have discussed earlier. The content returned from find similar will get stored in content URL variable. Next we are fetching only the documents array from content URL and storing array of documents in documents variable. After this, we are doing a check whether document is empty or not. If document is empty, we are printing empty message. If document is not empty, we are extracting first element of document array, inside resultant URL doc variable. In the next line, we are building URL for analyze sentiment. In next line, we are building post underscore args with parameters as API key, with its value as API key of idle account. Next parameter is URL with its value as reference key value of resultant URL doc variable, as we are doing sentiment analysis by passing URL. Last parameter is language with its value as eng. This will tell Idol API that we are sending English content and want analysis for English content. In next line, we are calling REST client post method from REST client Ruby package. This post method takes two arguments here. First parameter is URL of the API and second parameter is the list of key value pairs. The returned value will be in JSON. So, now let's run this method and see its output. So, this ends our tutorial of Hello World of HP Idol in Ruby. Before I wind up, I will showcase my GUI for this application. I hope you must have enjoyed this tutorial on Ruby for Idol on Demand. This tutorial only provides some of the basic API of HP Idol on Demand. You can explore more options about these APIs by visiting the home page of Idol API. If you have any queries, the best way to resolve them is through community post in Idol community board. Congratulations for completing this tutorial and thanks for watching.